So look, I'm really feeling these American versus other country videos. Like I get a different perspective on how America is and how other countries is. So my bad if I'm flooding y'all with these type of videos, but I really like these shits so I can see how different it is, shall I say. How different it is. So we're gonna jump right into this shit. I ain't even do my little gang, you know what I'm saying? But y'all know y'all gang.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really...
So I've been living in New Zealand for the last 4 years, and at work there was an American flag, and I jokingly went and put my hand over my heart and said the Pledge of Allegiance, and everyone was kind of like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's a Pledge of Allegiance. So basically growing up every day at school at like 9 o'clock or whatever, we would all stand up and the whole class would recite the Pledge of Allegiance with our hands over our hearts.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and all that bullshit. Give a fuck.
You know, when you say it out loud, it sounds a bit culty.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really...
So when I was in high school, I was a lifeguard, and during my lifeguard training, they taught us that before we even administer first aid or CPR, we had to ask for consent to avoid being sued. Now fast forward a couple of years, and I'm in London as a waitress, and my company sends me to go do CPR training. And while I'm there, they go over the same stuff that I learned in the States, but I noticed that
My bad with all this fucking merch shit behind me. Like, what the fuck is this about? Shit, what the fuck is this? What the fuck are we doing? Like, it's retarded. We don't give a fuck about your merch.
completely glossing over this one particular area. So I raise my hand and I ask, what are the laws here? Like, how do you avoid being sued if something goes wrong? To which every single person in the room starts laughing at me. It says, oh, you're American, right? Yeah, no one here is going to sue you for trying to save their life.
You're an American currently living abroad. What is one time that made you realize that America really matters?
So in the U.S., I regularly get pneumonia. Sometimes I get like pneumonia and bronchitis, but pretty much all, like clockwork, I get it. I had just moved to Scotland for my master's, and I was coming down with a respiratory infection like I do every year. It was just the early onsets of pneumonia, but like normally I wait to the point of where I'm like literally unable to breathe before I go to the doctor because it's expensive in the US. Well, here I was like, you know what? I'm here. I paid for the NHS. Let me go get it. Saw a doctor, gave me a prescription. I went to the pharmacy to pick up my medication, something that I literally would not be able to afford with my minimum wage job and being a full-time student. They gave it to me for free because it was necessary, and I almost cried in the pharmacy. Like tears were welling in my eyes.
This one time that made you realize that America really messed you up.
They'll charge you fucking $400 for some shit you need to live every day. Like, that shit is fucking mind-blowing to me. Like, if you got diabetes and you need that fucking... What's the shit called? You know what the fuck I'm talking about. That shit is crazy to me, bro. Why the fuck you charging so much for this shit?
Okay, so I live in New York now, but I used to live in England, and one time I was out at this bar with my friends, and these two cops walked by. And one of my friends was like, oh, I wonder why there are cops out right now. And I looked at the cops, and I got really confused, and I was like, those are cops? And my friends were like, yeah. And I was like, they don't have guns. And everyone was like, why would they have guns? They were like so aghast at that question. And I realized in that moment and learned that guns, there are so few guns in the UK, and it's such not an issue that like the everyday cop does not carry a gun. And I was just, there are houses in America that have seen more guns in them than a fresh vegetable. It blew my fucking mind. I think about it all the time. I hate guns so much. I hate guns so much.
Shit.
If you're an American currently living...
But right to bear arms, better practice that. I ain't gonna lie. Fuck what he talking about. I hate guns. Boy, you better keep your strap on you at all times. You need that shit, especially living in America, especially living in Florida, living in Texas, living in these certain states. Boy, your ass better get a strap. I ain't gonna lie to you. Better be caught with it than without it.
Realize that America really...
in the US, I could not let my 11-year-old son go outside and play by himself. Someone would call the cops or something would legitimately happen to him, and so there was no way. And when I moved to Germany, my husband, who's a German national, suggested that he go outside and play by himself because we would not have to worry.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what
They
is
can
one
go
time
outside
that made
and
you
play.
realize
What the
that America
fuck?
really
So I didn't realize this until I moved abroad, but Americans have a very strange concept of freedom. Like, when you're growing up, you're always told that America is such an amazing place and, you know, it's the land of the free, home of the brave, but, like, I keep hearing these criticisms from people like, oh yeah, but America has the most freedom. Wow, yeah, freedom. I mean, there may be a few exceptions or nuances, but in the UK, you're still free. Like, that is the biggest lie that Americans are ever told, that there aren't other free places. Like, I don't understand. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I feel like the concept is kind of destroying American democracy. How ironic. Like, they need to kind of understand that they need to work on things to make themselves better and more free for their citizens.
This is
American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Okay, so I'm not currently living abroad, but I did live in Australia for a few months. And one night while I was there, I got a little bit too crazy and I ended up on public transportation without a phone. And I had to find my way back to my apartment and I got lost.
Wow.
And while I got off the tram to get onto a different tram to take me home, a middle-aged gentleman came up to me and I immediately went into attack mode and I was like going to kill him. And he was like, no, I was just going to tell you which tram to take to get back to Preston. And that was when I realized that in Australia, I didn't need to be afraid. Like, granted, take precautions, but I didn't need to be afraid of every man. But in America, I still am.
If you're an American currently living abroad,
I still am. Shut up, nigga. No, I'm kidding. Nah, she got a valid point. Like, you got to be on your P's and Q's, especially on public transportation. On the train, niggas be wilding on that shit. They will violate you. I'm not gonna lie to you.
one time that made you
They
realize
will
that
get on your
America
ass.
So I don't live abroad anymore, but for half of 2018, I lived in Germany and I have so many stories. The town that I lived in had like a main plaza area and there was a cafe in that plaza. So a couple of my other American friends and I decided to try it out one day and there was a construction site nearby. We heard a really loud bang and, you know, we kind of assumed that someone had fired a gun. And so we like ducked for cover and then we were looking around frantically trying to find like a place that we could run to or hide to get out of the situation. And then we realized that no one had shot a gun. No, it was a loud bang from the construction site. That's it. That's all it was. We'd been speaking in English, and we all have really obvious American accents, so all the Germans around us gave us these really sad looks, like, oh, these poor, poor Americans.
an American currently living abroad, what is
That's not really an American thing. Like, is it? Am I fucking Americanized? That I'm like, yeah, that's not that bad. You know what I mean?
one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Okay, so I moved to
Damn.
and when I
Energy.
got here, I wasn't feeling too well, so I went to the doctor, and the doctor recommended that I get an EKG, an electrocardiogram. Now, instead of worrying about my health, my first reaction was, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can get one of those, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it. And this sweet little man, this sweet, amazing doctor goes, did you not pay the, like, $20 when you got here? I ended up getting a regular EKG, a 24-hour-long EKG, a blood test, and a freaking checkup for $20. Best part of this entire situation is that I am getting better and I am getting the medical attention I need without going broke.
What
Why
is one
does she have
time
so
that made
much
you realize that
energy? What the
America
fuck?
really messed you up?
I pride myself on being an American. I didn't make it out before COVID, but I went to Norway and I fell in love with Norway. I read about it, researched it, and I was like, I've got to visit first. And I only went for a week, and it was for the Infernal Metal Festival. And for the first time in my life, I was actually called an American. They didn't assume where I was from. And there was this beautiful Norwegian elder, and she says, "Go paska." And I said, "Beklager, jeg snakker litt norsk." And I said, basically, she said, "Happy Easter." And I said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak a lot of Norwegian." And she goes, "Oh, you're an American." And she didn't worry about her purse. She didn't look at me sideways. And I cried. I cried when I left, because for the first time, I was able to be just an American. I didn't even hardly drink, didn't do anything crazy.
If you're
What the
an
fuck does that
American
even
currently
mean?
living abroad, what is one time
What
that
the
made you
fuck does
realize
that even
America
mean?
really
So during the first lockdown, we have an elderly neighbor, and we would go and check in on her every once in a while and like get her groceries if she needed. And progressively, she started not be able to breathe
Back with the
very
merch.
well. And we knew it wasn't COVID because she had it before. But like at one point, it was like she couldn't even get to the door without like literally not being able to breathe and having to sit down. So my partner decided that we needed to call an ambulance for her and get her to the hospital pronto. And when he told me that he was going to call an ambulance, the first thing that I said was, "Are you sure? Can she afford an ambulance? Like we could just drive her." And it wasn't until my partner looked at me like, and that it clicked that, oh, that's not a worry here. And then I went upstairs and cried, because it really smacked me in the face that as Americans, we are conditioned to not worry about someone's health first, but to worry about whether or not they can financially afford to see a doctor and get help.
an American currently living abroad?
That is a fact. Yo, check this out. If you have, here in America, if you have to have a life change, like a surgery that could, like, how the fuck am I trying to say this, bro? Like, what the fuck, bro? Spit it out, Junior. Say if this surgery is life or death type shit, and you can't afford it, nigga, it's death, nigga. Your ass gonna die, bro. If you can't afford it, or your family can't afford it, or your insurance don't cover the whole thing, and you can't pay out of pocket, your ass is gonna die. Did you fart, bro? That shit stink. Holy fuck. Damn, dude, what's wrong with you?
One
That
time
shit
that
smell
made you
like
realize that
eggs.
America
But your ass
really
gonna
messed
die, bro.
So I moved to Germany in 2008.
Ambulance ride, $800, $900. Just for an ambulance ride. Bitch, we'll drop your ass off on me.
As a study abroad student, and I had a nice apartment that was on the ground floor with a nice patio, a big door that opened that led to the patio. And I was minding my own business in bed one day. The door was wide open. I had my noise-canceling headphones on, and I heard these really loud banging noises coming from outside that weren't very far. And I'm like, that's not a firework or a firecracker. It can't be. I freak out because as an American, I'm like, I'm about to get shot. Somebody is shooting up all of the student apartments right now. So I call all of my friends and I'm like, did you hear that? Am I crazy? Do we need to call the police and whatever? And they're like, I don't know, but yeah, maybe call your boyfriend who's German and like ask him. So I call my boyfriend and I'm like, watching, we just heard this stuff, like what's going on? And he's like, not to worry. Here in Germany, we don't have shooters. Those are probably just firecrackers. And I'm just like, I'm damaged. Like, we are all damaged and freaking out about frickin' firecrackers. We think we're gonna get shot up.
What is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
Hey, I live in Ireland and I've lived most of my adult life here. I moved to Ireland in 1995. My teenage daughter was born here many years ago.
I don't even remember
When she was
America.
born, I spent 2 nights in hospital before she was born. I had an emergency cesarean section, and then I spent a further 6 nights afterwards. The total cost to me was $0.
Get the fuck out of here.
I kept asking them, like, are you sure no one wants my credit card? Like, do you want my details so you can send me the bill? And they would just like laugh, like, oh, you're American. There's no bill. So 8 nights in hospital,
What?
emergency procedure, 0 bill.
Boy, your ass would have been in a whole 150 bands in America, bitch. Your ass, they would have raped your ass. No
What is one
intent,
time
like,
that made you realize that America
no
really
offense.
messed you up?
No offense.
Okay, I have another one. When I was studying in Spain, we had our orientation the first week of classes, and our program director sat us all down and had to explain our health insurance to us and how it worked. And basically it worked that you paid like €1,000 for the semester and you got health insurance, like free health insurance for everything, covered everything. And she had to sit us down and she had this big group of Americans in a room and she was like, listen, if you are sick, go to the doctor. And we were all like, yes. And she was like, no, like Americans don't go to the doctor. You won't go to the doctor when you're sick. So I have to tell you every year to do this, and still kids will just put off going to the doctor because you're used to just like pushing through illness. No matter what it is, I don't care if it's a cold, go to the doctor. And she had to actually like spell that out for us.
What's a really weird thing that your body does that you're not sure anybody else's body does?
Since I was a little kid, I've been able to do this with my hands. Basically, I can crack all my fingers all the time, anytime. Watch. It starts hurting after a while.
Why can you do that?
Yeah.
Rich Mom Starter Pack, Brooklyn Edition. So you and your indie movie director husband are
Alright, this is not a part of the video. Okay. Yeah, so us and Americans we're just literally fucking Americanized. Like, you know how people go to prison, they come out and they're institutionalized and that's all they know. We're Americanized, bro. That's all we fucking know, bro. So when we go to other countries, we think shit like how we used to it, and that's not the case. We do avoid the doctor and the hospital at all costs because that shit is expensive as fuck. If you ain't about to die, bitch, your ass better go lay down somewhere or something. Like, what the fuck? You'll be alright, you know what I mean? And if you ain't got health insurance, you're pretty much fucked, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, that is what it is. And that's sad because that's not the way it should be, because other countries, as you can see, free healthcare and shit like that, like police walking around without guns. I don't know, bro. It's a catch-22. Like, you kind of want them to have a gun so they can be able to protect the people that need protection. But at the same time, it'd be that lame-ass motherfucker that was in school that got bullied and shit. Now he got a gun. He think he got power. And he just gonna abuse that shit. So it's like, it's a catch-22, bro. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, and whatever country you in, and tell me the difference and similarities from your country and my country. You know what I'm saying? And without further ado, y'all know the motto: stay up, never stay down. If you stay down, we're gonna double playground, and double know how to play around. And I ain't gonna play around, you dig what I'm saying? Till next time.
Dealing with these bitches from my city made me heartless. Dealing with these niggas from my city made me cautious. He say he my fan, but he gon' turn on me regardless. All my life lessons came hard, they had no father.